Greetings. My name is Peyton Quinn. This is my very good friend, Mr. Michael Hanick, otherwise known as the Amazing Eagle, the only martial artist to break any of my bones in an athletic contest. My very good friend, Mr. Robert Stein, affectionately known as the Mad Chinaman, can tell you from personal observation that it takes more than one bullet to stop the Chinaman. In this tape, we're going to be looking at Atemi strikes. Atemi techniques are the striking techniques to the most vulnerable areas of the human body. While each of us has studied martial arts for more than 20 years, I think more importantly, we have had the necessity to apply these strikes in actual combat situation, as in our work as bouncers, coolers, doormen, security agents, before we found easier ways of making a living. Atemi techniques are powerful. These particular techniques are directed at quite vulnerable areas of the human body. And so we will be showing particular attention to human physiology and anatomy, so you can appreciate how these techniques, these striking techniques, can achieve the results which they can when applied properly and with sufficient force. At this point, I want to offer two warnings. Number one is the techniques are dangerous. They can cripple for life. They can kill. And this tape is not meant to substitute for one-on-one qualified instruction. It is meant to augment or enhance that type of instruction. You must be very careful when practicing these type of techniques, and there should be no contact. Number two, as powerful as Atemi techniques can be, martial art is that. It is art, and fighting is not an art. And Atemi techniques do have their limitations. There are some very big people out there, behemoths, that can soak up some powerful shots. Each of us has had to deal with such people. Therefore, Atemi techniques should be supplemented with throws and escapes. And keep in mind, self-defense is just that, defending yourself. It is not generally necessary to cripple or kill your attacker or assailant. Generally, it's easier to stun him and escape. Finally, let me point out that as powerful as these techniques are, they must be used in combinations, and you must learn to flow and chain the strikes. Once is generally not enough. I do not believe in the one-touch nerve, and I emphasize touch, knockouts. I know from experience, and so do my companions, that Atemi techniques, to have the desired effect, must have sufficient power. And therefore, before we get in directly to the choice of weapons and the targets, we're going to look at what constitutes a powerful blow and how you can achieve a powerful blow. We will be demonstrating the elements of a powerful blow and how you can achieve such a blow, because your strike must have sufficient force to effect the desired incapacitation on your assailant, even when the blows are directed to these vital areas. There are two basic types of damage which blows delivered to the proper area and with the necessary force can achieve. The two types of damage are structural and neurological. Structural damage can be affected by blows which break bones, such as the clavicle or collarbone. When the proper bones are broken, structural damage is affected to the basic body mechanics. A broken clavicle, for example, renders both arms all but useless, since most of the muscles which move the arms are attached to the clavicle. Another type of structural damage can be achieved by tearing tendons. Tendons are the structures which attach muscles to bones. The classic example here is the ligaments of the knees. Torn or even significantly bruised knee ligaments leave an assailant unable to turn, step, or sometimes even to stand. Besides blows which affect structural damage, there are blows to nerve centers. These strikes can cause dramatic neurological effects. The brain is the primary nerve center. An indirect and very effective attack to the brain can be achieved by a sharp blow, such as the suto, or edge of hand strike, to either side of the neck. The carotid artery supplies blood to the brain. This artery runs down both sides of the neck. When the carotid artery is struck, a well-focused and sharp blow raises the blood pressure in the artery. Although this only occurs for an instant, this fools the brain into immediately dropping blood pressure to the brain. This is a defense against possible cerebral hemorrhage. This is why such a blow can cause momentary unconsciousness, a loss or graying out of vision, or a complete knockout. A direct attack on the brain can be effected by a sharp blow to the top sutures of the skull. However, in general, the skull is so much denser than the bones of the hand that closed fist strikes, like the hook or straight punch, are likely to do significant damage to the striking hand. This is why boxers wear gloves, and even so, broken hands in professional boxing is not uncommon. When striking to the head, an open hand is used. The exceptions are the vertical fist and the back fist, and we will see why later. We're looking at the elements of a powerful blow. There are two elements to power, mass and velocity. Mass can be thought of, though somewhat improperly, as how much something weighs. Velocity is how fast something is moving. We can achieve greater power in our strike by shifting our body weight into the blow, or we can achieve greater power by increasing our velocity. Here we're going to demonstrate the relationship between mass and velocity by forcing the blade of the knife into the target. First, Michael will take the blade and sink it into the target by shifting his body mass, his weight behind the blade. Michael. Now, Michael will throw the blade into the target. Observe that the blade that was thrown is sunk considerably deeper into the target. Notice the impact on the target over the blade that was simply stabbed using mass or body shift. Velocity is more important than mass. We achieve power in our blows both by amplifying our mass, shifting our mass into the blow, but velocity is a greater determining factor. Notice the blade that was stabbed using body mass. Comes out rather easily. The blade that was thrown. It's in considerably harder. Considerably harder. Velocity is generally more important than mass. We use both to enforce the power of our blow. But velocity is the key. Velocity is how fast something is moving. And the greatest determinant to how fast you can move a limb turns out to be how much you slow yourself down by muscular tension. That's why relaxation is so important in achieving a powerful blow. We're going to be conducting this demonstration in street clothing so you can better see hip rotation and how hip rotation gives you greater power in the blow by shifting your weight into the strike. The objective here is to identify the various strikes, vertical fist, ridge hand, suto, heel of palm, etc., and show how to give them power before we move on to the particular targets. Try to pay attention to what a ridge hand is, a heel of palm, a suto, a vertical fist, a back fist, etc. Thank you. The human hand was not designed to pound on people. In particular, it was not designed to pound on the dense bones of the skull. A hand is a fairly fragile bone structure compared to the very dense skull. Most people, if they strike to the head with a closed fist, the typical John Wayners, will do as much injury to their hand as they may do to their opponent. Therefore, most of our strikes to the head and neck are going to be open-handed shots to protect our hands. The primary element of power, as was demonstrated with the knives, is velocity. How fast you can move something. How fast you can move something, your hand, primarily depends on how much you can relax the tissues and move quickly rather than tensely and working against yourself. Relaxation allows you to move quickly because you free your hand somewhat from muscular tension. You're moving unencumbered. Just as the knife, when it left the hand, was free to achieve velocity and sink deeply. But the other element is body shift. We use the two together. First shot I'm going to demonstrate is the vertical fist. Michael, would you restrain the bags? Thank you. Now observe. If I just stand here and hit it like this, I can only hit it so hard. I'm just hitting it with my arm. Not only am I just using these muscles, this is the incorrect method, but I'm working against all the rest of my body. But if I give it a little rotation, bam, and I relax it so it's loose on the way in, not tense, but loose so I can achieve speed, bam, and time it with a shift of hips, I can achieve a fairly powerful blow. Side! 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 This is a shot, vertical fist, that's primarily used against the nose or solar plexus. The striking area is these two knuckles here. Another shot to the body is the heel of palm. Striking area here is this area. Heel of palm. The same physics, the same mechanics of the blow are present. Hip rotation, relaxation. We rotate our hips, we put our whole body weight into it. It's loose on the way in. At the instant before impact, it locks out. Then after impact, the instant after impact, it relaxes and comes back as fast as it went out, just like the vertical fist did. Okay. This blow is primarily used to the same targets, floating ribs or solar plexus. It can also be used under the chin. Observe the hip action again. Side. 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 Okay. That blow is generally sufficient to break floating ribs on most people. Okay, the screaming. You really forget you're doing it when you've been doing it for decades. What's the purpose of it? Maya, come forward, please. Has two purposes. One is, hey! You can't train away that reflex. When a loud noise comes at you like that, you tend to tense up. You want your opponent to tense up. You want his mind to be thinking about something else besides defending himself too. If he tenses up, he can't move his hand quickly. He can't get out of the way. And also, physics of materials. When he's tense, the blow is more damaging because he doesn't absorb the shock well. He doesn't yield well. Also expels the air from your diaphragm. When you're striking, you're more likely to be hit, and the expelling of air helps you to prevent your getting knocked out of wind should you be struck. So the yelling has a psychological impact and the physiological impact of allowing you to, if you are hit, not to be as likely to be knocked out of wind, timed with the blow. Okay, other blows we'll look at. We looked at the vertical fist, heel of palm, very good shot. You can take a lot of force here without damaging your hand. Bam. And as we'll, okay? Also, ridge hand. Just generally to the neck. Bang! Striking area here. Hand is loose. Hip rotation. It flops up. Bam! Perpendicular to the target. Primary target here is the neck. Okay? Elbows. Same thing. You gotta have the arm relaxed. Observe, this is the vertical elbow, bam. Notice at this point my hand is open. Just closing and making a fist puts more tension in your arm than you need. This is particularly important when slipping a punch, by the way. And in fact, really, learning how to avoid being hit is more important than knowing how to hit effectively. But let's take a look at this. The ridge hand, bam. Vertical fist, bam. Heel of palm, bam. Elbows, still same thing. Loose hand, Michael, thank you. Hey! Hey! Side. Impacting surface here. Avoid making strikes towards the end of the arm. You can break the bones at the joint of the elbow. Did that once, takes a long time to heal. Bam, here. The other elbow shot, of course, is this one, bam. Now, with this shot, our hips are turning, cocking the shot, drawing it across. Notice how this arm is moving in the opposite direction. That's to free up the tension. Yeah. Two things moving apart so that this side of your body is not imparting tension and therefore retarding your speed. Same thing hips. Primary concepts: to achieve velocity, you need to relax. We'll look at some drills to develop that relaxation. When you relax, you get the speed. The speed means the power. Loose on the way in, tightens up just for impact, snaps back, loosens up, snaps back. Bam, bam. And striking on the proper surfaces.